السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله ذي الملك والملكوت والعز والجبروت الحي الذي لا يموت، ثم الصلاة والسلام الأتمان الأكملان على خير خلق الله محمد عبد الله وعلى آله وأصحابه وإخواني أما بعد. إخواني في الله, we're continuing with our lecture series regarding the history of Muslims in Sicily. Muslims reached Italy and they were there for almost 3 centuries. This is a history that very few of the Muslims know. In fact, from Sicily, the Muslims reached as far as Switzerland. Muslims reached as far as Switzerland. Ikhwani fillah, we mentioned in the previous lecture, what is the importance, number one, of this island that is known as Sicily? Why did the Muslims set out to conquer Sicily? Ikhwani fillah, there's a sea known as the Mediterranean Sea. This is known in history as the Sea of the Muslims. It's known as the Sea of the Muslims. There are a number of islands in this Mediterranean. The very first island, or the very first conquest the Muslims set out with a navy to conquer is Cyprus. But there are other islands in the Mediterranean. The largest island in the Mediterranean, is this island of Sicily, followed by Sardinia, and number 3 is the island of Cyprus. The biggest is Sicily, followed by Sardinia, and followed by Cyprus. If you know your geography, you know Sicily and Sardinia are following which country right now? Cyprus is a different country, but Sardinia and Sicily? Italy. So it's following Italy. Type. Now this Sicily, ikhwani fillah, is in the middle of the Mediterranean. It's the largest island. Number 2, ikhwani fillah, if you want to do any business in the Mediterranean, you have to cross between a part of the Mediterranean Sea that's between Sicily and Tunisia. So if you, as the Byzantines, if you take over Tunisia and you have over control of Sicily, you control all the trade that goes through the Mediterranean Sea. That time, the Americans were not discovered. The only 3 continents at that time was Africa, Europe, and Asia. So if you want to do any business in the Mediterranean, you have to cross the Mediterranean. You have to cross to Sicily, this piece of sea between Sicily and Tunisia. So whoever controls it has controlled the trade of the entire world. Right, together. India, there's no Suez Canal. Currently, we have a Suez Canal between Egypt and the Sinai. There's no Suez Canal. So if you want to bring goods from India, you have to bring them to Egypt, then cross over land into the Mediterranean, then you can send to Europe. And what was the famous products that are coming from India, just for benefit? 2 products, the ones you have in your food. Spices, number 2, the thing women wear that we cannot wear. Silk. So this was the main business. So any person who controls Sicily controls this business. Italy had many independent states. It had Sardinia, Sicily. It had Venice, Genoa, Rome. All these were independent states. Most famous amongst them is this one of Venice. If you've read Shakespeare, there's a book known as The Merchant of Venice. It talks about the Yahud and how they were so evil, the Shylocks, how they take loans. The Yahud from those days were controlling the financial markets. I was reading about the founder of Zionism. He's known as Theodor Herzl. From the foundations of Zionism, they say if we are a small group, but if we want to control the world, we have to control 2 things. Number 1, we have to control the financial markets. All the biggest banks are controlled by the Jews. The majority of the biggest banks. Number 2, if you want to control the world, you have to control the media. Are we together? So, I haven't got lost. What was I talking about before I talked about Zionism? What was I talking about? Venice, yes. So all the trade of Venice has to cross also this Sicily. So if you control this, you're also blocking the trade of Sicily. Sicily is also a pathway to enter Europe. The Muslims use Sicily to enter as far as Switzerland, that is the northern of Italy. So use Sicily to enter there. The Muslims wanted to conquer a city that is the capital city of the Roman Empire, the Eastern Roman Empire. What was the capital city of the Eastern Roman Empire that they wanted to conquer? Constantinople. Constantinople, which is currently known as Istanbul. So they wanted to conquer it from the east, but they tried so many times, they failed. So Musa ibn Nusayr wanted to try from Andalus, and other Muslims wanted to try it from the path of Sicily. Sicily, Khanifillah, is also very rich in agriculture. During the time of the Roman Empire, all the wheat, all the food for the Roman Empire used to come from Egypt and from Sicily. So Khanifillah, whoever controls this Sicily is indeed in a very strategic position to control world trade, military trade. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا قَاتِلُوا الَّذِينَ يَلُونَكُم مِّنَ الْكُفَّارِ وَلْيَجِدُوا فِيكُمْ غِلْظَةً. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, fight whoever is nearby from the kuffar so that you can ensure that the message of Islam reaches. The land of Africa, North Africa, has been taken from the Byzantines. The Arabian Peninsula has been taken. Persia has been taken. The land that remains, قَاتِلُوا الَّذِينَ يَلُونَكُم مِّنَ الْكُفَّارِ وَلَيَجِدُوا فِيكُمْ غِلْظَةً, is Andalus, already taken, and this Sicily also is very important. So, Ikhwanifillah, this was the state of Sicily. The Muslims, they tried conquering Sicily very many times because of the strategic importance of Sicily. During the time of the Umayyads, the Bani Umayyah, they tried 8 times. 8 times. The time of Uqba bin Nafi' and the others, they tried many times. 8 times they failed. The Abbasids, they took over the leadership in the year 132 of the Hijri calendar. They overthrew the Bani Umayyah. That was one of the bloodiest episodes in our entire history. The year 132 of the Hijri calendar, the Abbasids, led by Abu Saffah al-Abbas and Abu Muslim al-Khurasani, they massacred many Muslims. If you are from the Bani Umayyah, even if you're a child, 14, 13, 12, as long as you present a threat to their rule, they killed you. So many of the Umayyads, and these people were a noble family, they had wisdom, they ruled for a long time, they got a lot of experience, they were killed. So the Muslim world was in a very bloody revolution. This revolution was so bloody that the Abbasids in the entire history, they did not expand the kingdom. They did not expand the Islamic Empire. The Islamic Empire reached as far as the Umayyads reached. The Abbasids hardly increased anything. In fact, they lost many parts. Andalus became independent. In the year 138 of the Hijri calendar, who made it independent? Muhammad Abdurrahman al-Dakhil. He took it independent. North Africa, Morocco, Algeria, Morocco and parts of Algeria went to a group known as the Adarisa, Bani Idris. Tunisia itself was ruled by a family known as Ghaliba. This person, Ibrahim al-Ghalib, who was the leader of Tunisia, he writes to the Khalifa in Baghdad, Harun al-Rashid. You know Harun al-Rashid? If you've read that evil book that is known as the Arabian Nights, it's a very dirty, evil book. They mention him a lot, Harun al-Rashid. But he was a righteous leader, he was a good leader. So he writes Ibrahim al-Ghalib from Tunisia. He says the people are revolting every time. And there's no way we can control this except if you make me in a permanent position in Tunisia and my children become leaders after me. Every year you've been sending 100,000 dinar to Tunisia for our budget, but now you don't send that 100,000 dinar. In fact, I will even send for you 40,000 dinar every year. Just give me rule of Tunisia. I understand what he's saying. He's saying Tunisia every year used to send from Baghdad 100,000 dinar budget, but now there's so many revolutions. Allow me not to accept that 100,000. I'll pay every year 40,000. I accept you as my leader. We shall mention you on the khutbah on Fridays. On the coins, you are our leader. But give me autonomy of this land of Tunisia. Not Tunisia is known as Africa at that time, Ifriqiya. So he's told, okay. Why did the Khalifa Harun al-Rashid accept this? Because after the bloody period of the Abbasids, most of the lands of the Muslims started breaking apart into small empires. North Africa, they have the Adarisa, the Aghaliba. Oman, from that day till today, is by the Ibadiyya. The Ibadiyya sect from the Khawarij. Although they deny they're from Khawarij, but historically they're known as a sect from the Khawarij, but they're a different sector of the Khawarij. They do not spill blood. So Allah did not take over their kingdom. And many other states, they collapsed. So he was afraid that even Tunisia, if I don't accept this deal, they're just going to be independent, and I'm very far off in Baghdad. I cannot do anything about it. So he accepted. So Ibrahim al-Ghalib became the leader of Tunisia in this year 184 of the Hijri calendar. He rules from the year 184 to the year 196 of the Hijri calendar. He signs a peace agreement with the Byzantines in Constantinople that they shall not fight with each other. He shall not fight to take over Sicily. He signs a peace agreement. The peace agreement that Muslims have to sign is maximum 10 years. Maximum 10 years. 10 years, 10 months, and 10 days. That's what the scholars say. That's the maximum period that you can have hudna between you and the kuffar. Then after this 10 years passes, you have to sign a new contract, or it's no contract, we fight. Huh? You have to resign it or review it, or we start fighting again. Maximum is 10 years. Type. So he signed an agreement with Sicily, I'm not going to fight. He dies in the year 196. His son Abdullah ibn Ibrahim al-Ghalib takes over. He rules from the year 196 to the year 201. Then comes the other son, Ziyadatullah ibn Ibrahim al-Ghalib, who rules from the year 201 to the year 223. Within his reign, the Muslims conquered Sicily in the year 212 of the Hijri calendar. So in the reign of Ziyadatullah ibn Ibrahim al-Ghalib, the Muslims conquered Sicily. How did this conquest come? Sicily had a lot of problems. The Roman Empire, if you've read history, was one of the most powerful empires in history. Alif Lam Mim, غُلِبَتِ الروم, mentioned also in the Quran. غُلِبَتِ الروم في أدنى الأرض وهم من بعد غلبهم سيغلبون. So Roman was a very powerful empire. But in the year 395 of the Christian calendar, as Muslims we don't say AD. We say Christian era. We don't say AD, because AD is something related to their theology, to their belief, to their creed. It goes against our faith. Anno Domino, the year of our Lord. As we say, Christian era. So in the year 395 of the Christian era, the Roman Empire split into two. The West with the Latins and the East with the Greeks. The West, the capital in Rome, and the East, the capital in Constantinople. Now together. The Western Roman Empire collapsed about the year 476 of the Christian calendar. It was taken over by some German tribes known as barbarians. They took over and destroyed the entire Roman Empire. What was left was the Byzantine Empire. Byzantine Empire was ruling over most of the Middle East, most of North Africa, and also this land of Anadolu, Turkey, and this land of the Balkans, Bosnia, Hungary, Bulgaria. All these lands were under the Eastern Roman Empire, the Byzantines. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought Islam. Small group of people with Iman. And they conquered two empires at the same time. They conquered the Persians and destroyed them by the year 26 of the Christian calendar. And they took most of the lands that was controlled by the Byzantines. They took Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Palestine, Egypt. All these were lands of the Byzantines. So we had war with these people from a long time. So they signed peace agreements between us and them. However, in the year 212 of the Hijri calendar, an event happened in Sicily. What happened? The leader of the navy, he had some problems with the leader in Constantinople. The leader was called Emperor, I think, Michael II. He had problems with him, very big problems, so he revolted. He started a revolt, and he took over Sicily for himself. He declared himself Emperor of Sicily. Of course, the emperor in Constantinople is not happy. This is a border, a very big, important fortress for the Byzantine Empire. Yes, this is where our agriculture comes from. A lot of our food comes from here. If you allow such a place to fall, it will be problematic for us. So he asks another man called Plato, or Blatios or something, I don't know his pronunciation of his name, to come and fight with this man called Euphemius. So he comes and they fight. Euphemius loses the battle and he runs. He runs where? He runs to Tunisia to seek help from the Muslims, from the Dawla al-Ghaliba. So he comes to the Muslims and says, I have a deal for you guys. Let's go, we conquer together Sicily, and every year I'll pay you guys a lot of money. Allow me, we go together, we pay for this. So some of the Muslims, they saw that this is an opportunity to spread the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal. They saw that this is an opportunity to take over this land that keeps attacking the coastal areas of North Africa. It attacks every time Tripoli in Libya, it attacks these coastal cities. So they saw this as an opportunity. Other scholars, they say no. Why did they say no? Because we have an agreement. If you Muslims sign an agreement, you always must abide by it. Always. Starting with the very first agreement that was a victory for us, the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. Always as Muslims, if someone, you agree with the kuffar, even if they're the biggest enemies, once you sign an agreement, you have signed an agreement. There's no war. There's no fighting. You have to keep your word. Even if they break their word, you cannot break your word. Are you together? So your famous comes and gives them this. The Muslims are not convinced. Then he uses some deception. He says, you know those people of Sicily have already broken the agreement. Only you Muslims are following it. There are very many Muslim prisoners in Sicily. And you guys are not doing anything about it. Muslim prisoners are there. Muslim prisoners are there. This is definitely, you have broken the agreement. Now we must fight. So the scholars are divided into two camps. There's a scholar known as Asad ibn Furat ibn Sinan. Memorize this name. Asad ibn Furat ibn Sinan. He's the group that says, let us go and take over and conquer Sicily. The other group is led by an imam called Abu Mihraz al-Kinani and Sihnun. And they say, no, we can't conquer it. We have an agreement between us and them. The leader of the time, Ziyadatullah ibn Aghlab, he says, we shall take the opinion of the chief of the judges. We shall take the opinion of Asad ibn Furat ibn Sinan. We shall go attack Sicily and take over from the Byzantines. This is the year 212 of the Hijri calendar. Sicily was conquered in a way that went against the teachings of Islam. At least it went against two verses of the Quran of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Hujurat, يا أيها الذين آمنوا إن جاءكم فاسق بنبأ فتبينوا أن تصيبوا قوما بجهالة فتصبحوا على ما فعلتم نادمين. Allah says in the Quran, يا أيها الذين آمنوا إن جاءكم فاسق بنبأ فتثبتوا. In a different qira'ah it says فَتَثَبَّتُوا. In the qira'ah we read in Kenya it says فَتَبَيَّنُوا. So Allah says, all you have believed is someone, a disobedient person brings you news, the least you should do is confirm the news. The Muslims did not confirm the truth or the falsehood of the claim that they are Muslim prisoners. Who are those Muslim prisoners? How many are they in number? What are their tribes or their family names? We can confirm from, they need to confirm this. In the second ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Anfal, وَإِمَّا تَخَافَنَّ مِنْ قَوْمٍ خِيَانَةً فَانْبِذْ إِلَيْهِمْ عَلَى سَوَاءٍ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْخَائِنِينَ. When Muslims, you have an agreement with the enemies, as long as you have signed a peace agreement, if you see the other person has broken the agreement, what should you do? Attack them? No. You should inform them that we are no longer having an agreement because you have not met condition A, B, and C. Peace between us is already broken. So the Muslims broke these two agreements. And they took the opinion of this Imam Asad ibn Furat ibn Sinan, and they set out to conquer Sicilia in the year 212 of the Hijri calendar. For benefit, who is this Imam Asad ibn Furat ibn Sinan? Asad ibn Furat ibn Sinan, he was born in the year 142 of the Hijri calendar in a place called Harran that is currently in Turkey. It used to be in Syria before. He was born in the year 142. When he was only 2 years old, he went with his father to Morocco, to Maghreb, and he settled there in Qayrawan in Tunisia. He memorized the Quran, he memorized the Muwatta of Imam Malik, and he learned the knowledge from the people of his land. Then he left Tunisia and he went to study in Medina under the great scholar of Medina. Who was the great scholar of Medina at the time? Imam Malik. If you hear scholar of Medina, Imam Darul Hijrah, it's always, if you look at the second section, it's all Imam Malik. So he studies under the Malik Muwatta. He goes to Iraq and studies under the students of Imam Abu Hanifa. He studies under Muhammad bin Hassan al-Shaybani. Then he comes back to North Africa and he studies also in Egypt under the Imams Abdurrahman ibn Qasim and Abdullah ibn Wahab. He writes a very good and important book in the madhab of Imam Malik that is known as Al-Asadiyya. Then he goes to Tunisia, he starts spreading knowledge, fighting the people of Bid'ah, and he became the Qadi Qudha, the head of all judges. When in the year 212 of the Hijri calendar, when he was 70 years of age. How old? 70 years of age. He used to say, my name is Asad, the best of animals. Asad in Arabic is lion. Ibn Furat, the son of the Euphrates. His father is called Euphrates. Euphrates is the best of rivers or water bodies. Ibn Sinan, the grandson of Sinan. Sinan is a name for a sword, the best of weapons. So he says, I am the best of wild beasts, the son of the best of the rivers, the son of the best of the weapons. So when he was 70 years, he was the Qadi and he was the leader of the Muslims that set out to conquer Sicily, and he is the one who is given that honor to be the one who conquered Sicily. In the forthcoming lecture, we shall look at how the Muslims conquered Sicily and the civilization they established in Sicily from the year 212 of the Hijri calendar to the year 484 of the Hijri calendar. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.